Good morning, students. Myself Sridevi, and I'm going to explain you about what is a probability and what is a need to calculate a probability. So, what is a probability? Actually, probability is nothing but a chance of getting an outcome from different kinds of experiments. So, what are the different kinds of experiments are there? We'll see. Actually, why we need to calculate a probability? We'll see. So usually we may use some sentences like there is a chance for rain today, or probably, or I may get a grade in a university examinations. Like that we can listen many number of statements. So in all these kind of statements we use some word called chance or probably or uncertain. That means which is nothing but an uncertainty. So we don't know whether that required outcome will get or not, but there is a chance of getting that outcome. So that is nothing but the word probability is related with the occurrence of uncertainty. So for some different kinds of experiments will be there. So we don't know exactly what will be the outcome for some kind of experiments. Actually, what is an experiment is nothing but a physical activity which is having some outcome. Experiment is a physical activity which is having an outcome or outcomes. So uh, but if you repeat that you can also repeat that experiment more or less times also. So there are two types of experiments. One is those are deterministic experiment, and other is a non-deterministic experiment. One is deterministic and non-deterministic. Non-deterministic is also called as a random experiment or stochastic experiment. So, what is a deterministic experiment? An experiment is a physical activity which is having one outcome or more than one outcome, and the outcome will not change if you repeat that experiment in a number of times. So, if you repeat that experiment number of times, also that outcome will not change, which is having one or more outcomes also. So that means if you combine hydrogen with oxygen, you know what is the outcome, that is H2O. And if you repeat that experiment number of times also, that outcome will not change. So that kind of experiment is a deterministic experiment. And what is a non-deterministic experiment, which is also called as a random or stochastic experiment? So random experiment is nothing but which it is a physical activity which is having a outcome or number of outcomes also it is having. But if you repeat that experiment, that outcome will not be same in all the times. That means it is having a outcome or number of outcomes, but the outcome you don't know exactly before conducting the experiment. So that means, for example, if you toss a coin, you don't know what will be the outcome, whether it is head or tail, you don't know. Or if you throw a die, you don't know whether one will be getting or two or three. Or that means the outcomes when you throw a die are 1 2 3 4 5 6. So these kind of experiments are called as a random experiment. So for this kind of experiments, exactly you don't know what will be the outcome before conducting the experiment. So you need to calculate what is the probability of getting any of the outcome. So that means you in the deterministic experiment you know already what will be the outcome exactly. So for this kind of experiments no need to calculate a probability. But for random experiment you don't know what will be the exact outcome before conducting. So for that kind of experiments only you need to calculate a probability. So that means what is the probability of getting head, or what is the probability of getting tail, or what is the probability of getting one or two or three in throwing a die. Like that some examples are there for random experiment. Some more examples for random experiment are, if you throw a die you will be getting 1 2 3 4 5 6. You don't know what will be the exact predicted outcome before conducting the experiment also. So similarly, one more example, if you pick a ball from a box containing different colored balls, and looking for the color of the selected ball. What will be the color of that selected ball? You don't know before taking that picking that ball. So you need to calculate for this kind of experiments also. You need to calculate what is the probability of getting required color, like that. Or inspecting a life length of a bulb, etc., are the random experiments. Some more examples in in a research activities also we can relate this random experiment, like administering a new medicine on a group of people and looking for an effectiveness. Taking a product from a factory and verifying whether it is defective or not. Based on that, whether it is defective or not, you need, if you calculate based on that, we can examine the outcomes of the company, like that. Some more examples we can give for the random experiments. So the word here, uh, before going to discuss about a probability, we need to know about a set. Why? Because for random experiments we know some different outcomes will be there, number of outcomes will be there. So we need to write all the outcomes in a set. Set is nothing but a well defined collection of objects. Well defined collection of objects, that means for all the outcomes you need to calculate a probability of any outcome. So that means a set is a synonymous word for the collection or aggregate class or comprises of elements. Like this, set is a synonymous word. So before going to know about a probability, we see what is a set. Set is nothing but a collection of well defined objects. So usually we represent set with a capital letters here, A, B, C, like that. We can represent it with a capital letters. And elements, that means the objects in that set called as a element. Those objects can be represented with a small letters. We'll see some examples here. So set is nothing but a collection of well defined objects, that means elements or in whatever it may be, or set of natural numbers, set of all integers, set of rational numbers, set of real numbers, like that. We can take many number of examples mathematically, which is a set. So see here, the example A is a set represents with a capital letter, and these are the elements of A. These are all the elements of A. Those are represented with a small letters. The elements will be represented with the small letters and set will be represented with a capital letter. And next we'll see different types of sets. So what are the different types of set? We'll see. So first one is a empty set. Empty means no elements. If a set contains no elements, then that set is called as a empty set. That means here A is having no element, so A is a empty set. Singleton set. So singleton means only single element. If a set contains only single element, then that particular set is called as a singleton set. Finite set means if a set contains finite number of elements, that means which are countable, only some number of elements are there, then that particular set is called as a finite set. Infinite set means if a set contains infinite number of elements, then that set is called as a infinite set. That means, for example, set of all prime numbers which are infinite, so this particular set is called as a infinite set. Cardinal number of set means the number of elements in that particular set represent with a n of a. N of a is nothing but distinct number of elements in a given set is called as a cardinal number of set. That means, for example, see here, if a is having 1 2 3 4, so how many elements are there in a? Only 4 elements are there. So here n of a is a cardinal number which is having 4 elements. N of a is 4 elements. If B is a set having letters in the word algebra, so how many number of elements are there in B? And 6 are there. So n of B is equal to 6. This is called as a cardinal number of set. Equivalent set, when we can say two sets are equivalent, that means, see here, if for example, if A is having 1 2 3, B is having PQR. The elements are not same here, but A is having 3 elements, B is also having 3 elements. So then we can say A and B are equivalent sets. The symbol represents as this. So A is equivalent to B. That means if number of elements are same, then we can say two sets are equivalent sets. Equal set means if the elements are also same, not only the number of elements, if the elements are also same, then we can say A and B are equal sets. For example, if A is having PQRS, B is also having PSRQ, the elements are same and number of elements are also same, 4 number of elements are there, then we can say A and B are equal sets. And next is a subset. When we can say A is a subset of B or B is a subset of A, if the elements of set A contains in a set B. If there are two sets A and B, then if every element of set A contains in set B, then we can say A is a subset of B. That means, for example, see here, if let A is having 2, 4, 6 and B is having 6, 4, 8, 2. All the elements of A are there in are contained in B. So then we can say A is a subset of B. So here we cannot say B is a subset of A. Why? Because the elements which are there in B are not there in A. There is a element 8 is there which is not there in A. So in this case we cannot say B is a subset of A. We can only say A is a subset of B. Disjoint set. Disjoint set means if the two sets are not having any common element, single common element also. So we can say these two sets are disjoint sets. That means A is a set which is having prime numbers and B is a set which is having composite numbers. So then we can say A and B, because A and B are not having any single common element also. These two are different numbers. So there are no common elements here. Then we can say A and B are disjoint sets. If there is a at least one common element, then we can say it is a overlapping set. That means if A and B, if there are two sets A and B, which are when we can say A and B are overlapping sets, if A and B are having at least one common element, then we can say A and B are overlapping sets. Universal set means a set which contains all the elements of other given sets, which is called as a universal set. That means, for example, see here, A is a set which is having 1, 2, 3, and B is a set which is having 2, 3, 4, and C is a set which is having 3, 5, 7. Universal set represents with capital U. Always universal set represents with capital U, and U contains all these elements of other given sets. That means A is having 1, 2, 3 which are there in U, B is having 2, 3, 4 which are there in U, and 3 C is having 3, 5, 7 which are there in U. So all these elements will be there in universal set. Then we can say here A is a subset of U, B is a subset of U, C is a subset of U. All the sets are subset of universal sets. So that is a universal set. And complement means which are not the elements of that particular set. That means, for example, I'll explain in that example. If U is having, that means U here is a universal set. U is having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and A is a set which is having 1, 3, 7. What if you need to calculate a complement of A? That means you should not write the elements of A. We can also write A complement is equal to U minus A. That means the elements of the A complement is a set which is having the elements of U except A. That means you should eliminate the elements of A here. So that means you should not write the elements 1, 1, 3, 7. Except these elements, you should write all the elements. That means A complement is having 2, 4, 5, 6. Other than these three elements, you should write all the elements in U. So the A complement we can write as U minus A. So that is a complement of a set. Here are some examples, some operations which can be performed on sets. So what are the operations we can perform on sets here? If A is a set, B is a set, you need to calculate a intersection on this set. These are the operations which we can perform on sets: intersection, union, complement, difference. Like that, you can calculate many number of operations here. So how can you find out intersection or union? Intersection means common elements. That means how can you find the A intersection B here? What are the common elements are there in A and B? You should write here. So how many common elements are there? 4 is there, 6 is there, 8 is there. So these three are the common elements in A and B. So A intersection B is 4, 6, 8. And union means A union B means you have to write all these elements. So combinedly you should write the elements of A and B. That means 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 10. That is a union of two sets. Difference of two sets means already we have calculated a complement. In that also difference we have calculated. So how you have to calculate a difference? If A and B are two sets, A is having 2, 3, 4, B is having 4, 5, 6. If you need to calculate A minus B, you have to write the elements of A except B. That means what are the common elements are there here? 4. So except 4, you should write these two elements. A minus B means 2 comma 3. So A minus B is 2 comma 3. That means you have to eliminate the elements of B. You have to eliminate the elements of B and you should write only the elements of A. That is A minus B. So these are the operations we can perform on sets. And in the next video, we'll see what is a probability and how you need to how you have to calculate a probability. Thank you.